Good evening and welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting on Thursday the 25th of April. So before we start, let's talk about a little bit of housekeeping for those people who are in the physical room. So we are not expecting a fire alarm. Should the alarm sound, please leave via the nearest fire exit and gather in the car park next to the library. If I could ask that you ensure that all mobile phones and electronic devices are now turned to silent. And should members of the public need to use the bathroom, please make yourself known to the security guard who will provide access for you. Lisa, just talk us through how this evening's meeting will work.
Thank you, Chair. We are operating hybrid meeting arrangements with officers and councillors who are not members of the Cabinet having the option to join the meeting via Zoom, and we're also live streaming this meeting via the Council's YouTube channel to encourage more people to engage in our public meetings. Please can I remind everyone to use their microphones when speaking and turn them off when finished. Please can attendees present in person refrain from watching the live stream or joining the Zoom link, as this will cause interference for our viewers. Members and officers attending the meeting remotely must use their raise hand function when they wish to speak and to declare any interests at the appropriate time. If anyone attending the meeting remotely loses connection, the meeting will continue and you will have the option to follow the meeting via the YouTube live stream. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you indeed, Clerk. Okay, so let's move on to apologies. Any apologies this evening?
We have none, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. And the minutes. So to confirm as a correct record, the minutes of this Cabinet meeting on the 19th of March. Happy to propose those from the Chair. Do we have a seconder, please?
Happy to second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. All those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much indeed. So we move on to interests, disclosure of interests. So this is for us to receive declarations of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest. Are there any declarations of any interests on items on today's agenda? Thank you very much indeed. Non-recorded. So we will move straight on to the items. Item number 6, report of the Children and Young People's Overview and Scrutiny Sub-Board, and that's the school's mental health programme. I noticed that we are joined in the virtual room by Councillor Yvonne Twelves, who was present and was heavily involved in the Scrutiny Sub-Board. Councillor Twelves, do you wish to present at this point, or maybe you have some questions a little bit later? Over to you.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting to come to me. I was very happy to see this come to the Overview and Scrutiny Board. It was a very interesting discussion that we had. There was some fantastic videos that we watched prior to the meeting of the young people themselves talking about the initiative that's been rolled out in various schools. We had lots of questions that we put to the presenter of the report, and we were really pleased to see the work that was going on, and we hope it will continue.
Thank you very much indeed. So I'm going to pass across to Councillor Bye to talk us through the Cabinet's response.
Thank you so much, Chair. The meeting took place on the 19th February. I attended together with professional colleagues, and you'll see on page 24 all the various bullet points of the matters raised. And then there was a recommendation. So and I want to say thank you to the sub-board, to say particular thank you to Councillor Law, who can't be with us this evening, and Councillor Twelves, who we've just heard from. The recommendation is then on item, it's on page 25, it's also actually on page 26. So if I read out the recommendation that came from the sub-board, that the Cabinet be recommended to request the Director of Children's Services to promote the work in schools around mental health programmes and support to families and carers. And then the response on behalf of the Cabinet to Overview and Scrutiny members: we are promoting the Mental Health Support Team, MHST, through a variety of activity. In conjunction with Child and Family Health Devon, we promote the service through a one-to-one weekly drop-in service, workshops, group work and assemblies providing discreet support, the provision of a reflective space enabling staff to make use of advice and guidance from an emotional and mental health practitioner, staff training and development and partnership forums such as the TSCP Wider Partnership Forum. That's the Safeguarding Children's Partnership Wider Partnership Forum. We are also communicating the work of the Mental Health Support Team through our Family Hub website and also our SEN, Special Educational Needs and Disabilities newsletter, as well as through our parent carer panels. And I have to say, if I can add to that, Chair, that as I visit schools, I ask about their engagement with the mental health support team, and I receive very, very positive feedback as I go around schools. The recommendation is all about the Director of Children's Services promoting this work in schools. I have to say, it's quite complex. In the context that so many schools are academies, we can encourage and we could help and advise and encourage again, but to some extent what goes on in schools is within the remit of their academies and academy trusts. But we are doing what we're doing, and thank you so much indeed again to the sub-board, and I very much hope that they'll be happy with the response that I have read out.
Thank you indeed, Councillor. Councillor Tranter, I understand that you are prepared to second this report.
Yes, I've had feedback from the ONS that it was a really successful ONS, really thorough, and people were generally really pleased and talking a lot about it afterwards. And yeah, definitely second this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments from around the table? Questions? I did attend this this piece of work. Actually, it was an excellent example of overview and scrutiny, and listening to the voice of our young people. Extremely emotional in places, but a very, very worthwhile piece of work. So outside of the Cabinet, any questions, debate or comments? Okay, so before we move to the vote, I will go back to Councillor Twelves if she has any further questions of the Cabinet before I move to that vote.
Nothing further to add at this stage. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much indeed. So the recommendation has been read out that the School's Mental Health Programme report and Cabinet's response to the Children and Young People's Overview and Scrutiny Sub-Board recommendations in respect of the School's Mental Health Programme be approved as published. All those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, let us move, please, on to item 7, and that is the proposed Devon and Torbay Council Combined Authority and the Devolution deal. This is a really exciting time for the Council, working in collaboration with Devon County Council. It's been a long road, and to be honest, I've only been on that part of the journey for a little part of it. Certainly, it's been discussions and conversations that have been going on for a number of years. However, we are at the point now where we are able to make a recommendation to Council. So this will be a full debate in the Council chamber if it is approved by the Cabinet this evening, and that debate will be on the 30th of April. And it's an opportunity for us to formally request of the government that we can move into the devolution arrangement, agreement, deal that we are looking to bring forward. Included in this evening's report is some of the information on the consultation that we recently carried out. So we had consultation that, and that period ran from the 12th of February to the 24th of March, when literally between ourselves and Devon, we were all across the county talking to as many people as possible. We had 31 roundtable discussions, and they were attended by over 700 people. We have had a total of 890 responses to the consultation, and they're in the appendix report, some 96 pages, including the comments from the various districts around Devon. I think probably there'll be a lot more debate at the council, so I think I'll probably hold it at that particular point. But effectively, just for reference, our recommendation is to council, where we will effectively thank all those who responded to the consultation. We will consider the analysis of the responses on the draft proposal for the Combined County Authority. We'll approve the proposal, which is Appendix B, which is effectively the deal, which we will then submit to the Secretary of State for levelling up housing and communities. We will look to delegate authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with myself to consent to the making of the necessary regulations to create that combined authority. We note that subject to the approval of the proposal and making of the regulations, the Council will give consideration to a draft constitution in September of this year, all things being equal. And we note that Devon County Council will be asked to support the establishment of the Team Devon Joint Committee, and with the proposed terms of reference being considered by Devon County Council in September 24. And that Team Devon Joint Committee effectively is an opportunity for the districts to be involved around that particular table. So I think that's probably enough as by way of an opener, and I ask Councillor Lewis, who I understand is going to second this.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. Just highlight one thing, the responses from the consultation, if you look at the document, Torbay did very well, and they had a high number of people feeding back into the consultation, in fact much higher than any of the other areas within Devon. So that's good news that people have engaged on this subject. And it does show that, you know, working together with Devon, we've always been a friend of Devon's, and I think this is making us even more a friend. And I think we should thank John Hart from Devon and Anne-Marie and Dave Thomas for the hard work that they've done. I stepped in while you were away for a short while, and it's certainly interesting meetings. But they have put their life and soul into it, especially John Hart, who is stepping down as leader of Devon, should be congratulated along with others on actually getting it to this stage. And it will be good. It'll be good for our residents, our businesses, and I think overall for the local authorities involved in it. It is a shame that Plymouth isn't at the table at the moment, but hopefully in time they may come back on board. As you said, Mr. Chairman, we will have a full debate at Council, and I'll leave my thoughts for that, but I hope that we will get the full support of the Cabinet tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Open up for any questions or any comments from within the Cabinet. So, Councillor Tyman first, please.
Yes, I think it's just worth sharing that having read through the report and looking at the response from consultations, I think it's a very mixed bag in terms of people's positive and negative views at this stage. And I think it just indicates there's an awful lot of work still to be done to bring more people on board with feeling comfortable with the whole idea and the whole proposition. But it's quite noticeable that quite a lot of the comments and negative comments in the consultation are sitting there talking about, we don't know how this is going to happen, we don't know how that's going to happen. And we are really at a very early stage of planning through the whole of this. It would have taken an awful lot more time if we were going to have and effort, if we were going to have all the answers ready at this stage. And therefore, I think we can actually bring more people into understanding the benefits of this over the next few months. In particular, in the elements of housing in this report and the bits of consultation I've read carefully, there clearly is elements of misunderstanding of how things will go to work, both in responses from the public and even, I think, in responses from some of the districts. I don't think that's surprising at this stage. I don't think it's worrying at this stage, but it is a flag to us about how much work needs to be done over the next few months to actually get the full benefits of this. I perhaps fill out on some of that on housing when we go to council. I'd like to try and do that, but I certainly am giving support to our recommendation to council that this moves forward.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bai.
Well, thank you, Chair, and I'm absolutely going to support this. I think it's hugely important for Torbay and Devon that we work together on regeneration. That, to me, is the top priority. And the biggest project in my time was what we used to call the King's Kerswell Bypass, now the South Devon Highway. And that was very much a joint project with Devon County Council and Torbay. It had to be because, of course, 3/4 of it was on their land, and in terms of a lot of the process, that they took the lead. So we have that history of working with Devon, and I want to see more of that. We've got to woo the districts. That seems to be the key. I think there's some reservations from the district authority, and that, of course, includes our neighbours in Teignbridge and South Hams. But when you read through what they want, it's what we all want to see, and that is better jobs, higher paid jobs, higher skills. 40%, I think that was one of the most stunning reports, so one of the most stunning points in the report, that 40% of young people leave Devon. So we've got to do more to retain our younger population, boost their skills, provide them with housing and much better employment opportunities. So everyone wanted to do the same thing, and working together is the way forward. I think that there was talk about some organisations seeing the Torbay tail wagging the Devon dog. I'm just pleased to see the tail stuck back on the dog and working with the dog. So there we are, working together. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Billings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Councillors Tyman and Bai have indicated, I think this is a really positive step forward. If we look at a map and we look at where the administrative boundaries are around Devon, they're not where we would naturally identify the separation between areas if one was starting from fresh. And on that basis, it makes a lot of sense in my eyes to have more joined up working, to recognise that there are huge economies of scale, there's huge benefits in collective representation in terms of the way we can draw investment, make the case for government money in our area and work collectively. I think the cautions that we can see in some of the feedback responses really just highlight we need to ensure we take everyone on the journey and explain and communicate the benefits and recognising that perhaps we need to do that a little bit more going forwards just to really demonstrate why we're in the enthusiastic position that we are, and that's something I look forward to working with other colleagues in the Council on going forwards. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you indeed. Let's move outside of the Cabinet. Any comments, questions? Councillor Darling.
Thank you. I'll stand because I'm used to that. But I have been on this journey myself for some time, and it's one of those things that you're best dancing to the music of whichever government is in power at that time, because it's the best way of actually some pennies being thrown towards you. And clearly, one could say this is much ado about nothing when one looks at the effort and time that's been put into this and what we're actually getting out of it. And we should naturally be working with our partners in Devon. We shouldn't have to have a combined deal to do that. And I know over many years, the previous administration this administration would be doing that as a natural, because it's the right thing to do. The concern with a combined authority is the government have set it up for a lot of effort for a limited response compared to a mayoral authority. Now, for some reason, Torbay is somewhat bruised by having two mayors so far. And some of our district might be a little bit worried about being wooed by by a former mayor of Torbay. I think we do need to take them on that journey with us. I think there is some caution that we need to continue with this forward with, but it's more the jam tomorrow that we should be looking at. Yes, we need to work in partnership with us. It is about housing is a massive issue for Torbay. Regeneration, working in partnership with Devon is very worthwhile. But I know that it is perhaps what is over the horizon. And when one looks at what the Labour Party are talking about and giving back control to local communities, powers around local government, this could be a positive way forward on that route. And so it is with some caution that I'll be supportive of this when it comes to full council. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor. And so, I mean, devolved government has been something that has been spoken about for an awfully long time. And there are many, many areas around the country that actually wish they were part of this particular round. And there's not many of us left in this round. So it's fantastic that we are here. Some people may think that this is the end of the deal. We've actually just got it across the line and that's the end of the process. This is just the start. This is absolutely the start of the process. One thing's for certain, the way that this will look in 2, 3, 4 years' time will be very, very different, I believe, from how it is today. I think if we're able to demonstrate with the new money and the new powers that come down to the devolved authority, if we're able to demonstrate the kind of things that we can do at a local level, that will provide confidence from government to be able to bring more powers and more money into our local area. So absolutely something we will have a wider debate on in just 5 days' time. I think we'll hold it there and I will move to the vote. So I've gone through the recommendation. All those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. We move on to agenda item 8, which is the commissioning of integrated sexual and reproductive health services. Councillor Tranter.
Thank you, Chair. Slightly different subject from devolution. So I'd like to talk about the sexual health and the reproductive health contract. We are required to provide sexual and reproductive health services for our residents, and the current contract expires on the 30th of June 2025. Currently, services are co-commissioned with Devon County Council, and the intention is to continue this approach. There is not expected to be any additional budget requirements for the current financial envelope. All funding is contained and resourced via the ring-fenced public health grant and therefore does not directly affect the wider authority revenue grant. The proposals do not materially change the types of services being delivered, but will seek to organise, deliver and develop them in new ways to keep pace with changing expectations and reflect the current and future needs and behaviours of the resident population, working to enable all residents to have good access to high quality, preventative, place-based, clinical and digital sexual and reproductive health services. It also supports the new way of organising and deliver and develop services which encourage increased self-management of contraception, testing and treatment via a universal digital offer to enable self-care, self-management and digital prevention. This will be combined with clinical services in specialist and community settings and will support residents of Torbay to have improved choices and outcomes. Improved access empowers and supports families and individuals to prevent unintended conceptions, transmissions of infections, and take control of their own health and well-being. The decision I hope to get your support on is twofold. Firstly, that the Director of Public Health has delegated authority to award the contract to the selected provider as a result of a compliant procurement process. Secondly, that this decision will be on the basis that through the procurement procedure, none of the specification, the budget, nor the procurement process proposed are materially different from what is outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Tyman, I understand you wish to second this one.
Yes, I'm happy to second this report, and I don't think I've got anything to add to what's been admirably put forward by Councillor Tranter.
Thank you very much indeed. Any comments around the table? Any comments from the wider councillors? Councillor Darling.
Thank you. I just wanted to understand, I understand this is clearly a jointly procured service with Devon County. I'm reassured that Torbay are not seeking savings, but I know Devon are more financially challenged than Torbay, and therefore I'm left with the impression they're looking to save in the region of £1 million from this contract. What risk does that leave us in? And the other element I wanted to understand is, I understand, digital platforms and so forth, very positive for the vast majority, but how are we helping people with learning disabilities through this particular procurement as well, or once procured through this service? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tranter.
I can just come in and say that none of the services will still be in the community, and people will still be able to access face-to-face services. This is for people that are able to access online services. And I'll pass you over to Lincoln, if that's okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Two really good questions. So we're working in the way that we're structured. Torbay is very much well represented in that joint commissioning approach. And in fact, we chair that group and work very closely. So we're very much aware of the potential risk that our colleagues who are the larger in terms of financial partner in the agreement. What's clear is that we will ensure that our services do not see any change in the quality overall, and are very clear as we go forward in this process. That is something that we're not willing to compromise on. Really good challenge around access for learning disabilities. We've done quite an extensive engagement piece in terms of informing the service as we go forward, and we've been keeping in touch with a whole range of people with different protected characteristics and otherwise, but really good challenge in terms of how we ensure that our service is equitably accessible to people with learning disabilities. And I will agree with you, that's an area where we can continue to improve.
Thank you very much indeed. So we shall move to the vote. All those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you indeed. Move on to item 9 this evening, which is the review, my apologies. Yeah, that's right. Review of the local authority company at SWISCo. And so invite Councillor Billings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm delighted to present this review into the commissioning review of the council-owned company SWISCo. Page 47 of our agenda pack provides a covering report, and page 53 there onwards is the commissioning review itself. Now, SWISCo has been a great success. Complaints in this service area are down, bin collections are now very reliable, and community feedback has been very positive. And I'd like to pay tribute at this point to all of the many members of staff that have worked very hard on behalf of our community, that are employed by SWISCo, that have allowed us to achieve this really good performance. And increasingly, SWISCo is going to become even more important. It's central to the delivery of this administration's priorities with enforcement, with Operation Town Centres, and with Operation Brighter Bay. However, this historical success has often been despite and not because of the way SWISCo was commissioned. SWISCo historically has been commissioned through something which I might describe as this most unusual term of a thin client model, which I understand, although is common in the public sector, is one which, for those who would come from more of a business background, might be somewhat unusual. It effectively is a circumstance where, and I would liken it to employing a builder and allowing the builder to really describe to you as the client, if he was doing works to your own home, what needed to be done. He would just be given the pot of money, and you would hope that the works were what you want. It's a little bit more finessed than that example, but that hopefully provides a way of understanding some of the challenges involved with a thin client model. And what we have before us in the commissioning review is a move away from this thin client model to an intelligent client model. And the text we have, which has been authored by our lead commissioner, Lisa Tuck, really goes through ensuring that SWISCo, in terms of its priorities, aligns with council interests, that there's proper governance with clear checks and balances that bring key decisions back to senior officers within the council, to members with a clear audit trail. It ensures that there's sensible ways of ensuring that there's performance management and financial probity. You can see the detail that's been gone onto, and I've been very pleased that this commissioning review is entirely in accordance with the SIPFA guidance, which is the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy. We've taken the review through overview and scrutiny, and this has resulted in some additional information being included in the annual monitoring, and that's set out in the report in paragraph 3.2 on page 50. Mr. Chairman, that's my very brief summary of what we have before us. Before I sort of go to the recommendation, I just wondered whether it might be whether the overview and scrutiny chairman wanted to add anything at this point.
No problem at all. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a seconder first, and then that will allow us to move into the debate, and then I'll allow you to come back, Councillor Billings, to move the recommendation, if that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I can take the seconder, which is Councillor By.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you must have a wonderful sense of humour to ask me to second something which seems very, very processy, if I'm allowed to say that. It's hugely important, all the services that SWISCo deliver, or one of my charming older Wellswood residents now refers to you as Swissair. She's so impressed with what you've done along Babbacombe Road, she wants you to do the same in her roads. And I've written to colleagues about that. But I think being called Swissair must show that you've really raised the standard in what you do. It's a complex report, and Councillor Billings is much better to explain the difference between the thin model and the intelligent model of commissioning. The recommendations that I've seen within the report, and I'm now going to try and go back into the report very quickly, the recommendations do nonetheless seem to be very, very clear and sensible, particularly the recommendation at 3.5. The directors of the SWISCo board and shareholder panel should ensure the SWISCo business plan is aligned with the council's corporate and community plan 2023 to 2043 and annual business plans before ratification. I think bringing everything together and that we are sort of all marching in the same direction, that seems very sensible. So I'm very pleased to support this report and the recommendations, and I have to say, residents I speak with, the important thing, not what the model of commissioning is, but they just like to see the work that's underway, and I would suggest it is much improved work and good work. Keep collecting the bins. Thank you so much.
And so, Mr. Chairman, for absolute clarity, the recommendation that we have in the report, which is shown, I'd like to put forward a slight amendment to that, and that's in relation to the third paragraph. As currently drafted, the delegated authority rests equally with the Cabinet Member for Pride in Place, the Section 15 officer, and the Director of Pride in Place. As a Cabinet, we run collective responsibility, so there's a minor textual change that we need to make to that to make it clear that the decision rests with the Director of Pride in Place. So if I run through the actual full text of the recommendation, so point 1, that the Cabinet approves the adoption and implementation with immediate effect of the recommendations as set out in Appendix 1 of the Governance and Commissioning Review of SWISCo at Section 7 at Sections 1 through to 12. 2, that the Cabinet approves the extension of the commissioning of SWISCo as a wholly owned company of the Council to carry out the work specified in the SWISCo commissioning agreements for a further 5-year period from the 1st of April 2025 through to the 31st of March 2030. And 3, and this is the revised text, that the Director of Pride in Place, in consultation with the Director of Director of Finance and Cabinet Member for Pride in Place, Culture and Events and Parking, be given delegated authority to approve any revision to the Council's commissioning agreement with SWISCo to the 31st of March 2030. That's the resolution that I'm proposing, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to move straight outside of the Cabinet to move across to Councillor Darling, who's invited to present views from ONS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I was just reflecting to myself, I can remember when we had a DLO, a direct labour organisation, and then we changed to TOR2, or as some of their staff used to call it, TOR-ROT. And I think TOR2 that we were saddled with when the previous administration came in, we were effectively, as a local authority, a hostage client, and it was passed from May Gurney to Keir, I believe it ended up with, and the difference is massive between the work that is undertaken. There was allusion to, which I think was, I would say, a falsehood as far as the thin client relationship. I would say that the relationship with TOR2 was massively different, and that was more a sucking of teeth and, well, it'll cost you whatever you wanted to do anything different. So when SWISCo was set up a couple of years ago, and it was planned to have this review and make sure that we were learning the lessons from the initial years of this, and this is to be welcomed. The overview and scrutiny, there was an element, it is picked up, Mr. Chairman, you can be assured, in item 3.2, which is the ensuring that we're picking up the element of risk, but also doing the added value, and I'd like to pay tribute for Mr. Reeks for highlighting this as a way of actually drawing this into the governance issues, was the value for money. So it isn't just value for money issues, it's issues like social responsibility, but also probably key pressures for this front of house of Torbay is biodiversity and climate change, and making sure that we're alive to those as core values of that service is really important. So I warmly welcome this review that was planned for, and I look forward to another impressive 5 years with SWISCo. Thank you.
Thank you indeed. Any further comments from anybody around the table? Councillor Byne?
I mean, it's all a long time ago now, but, you know, Tor 2 started well, and it's interesting that we are not yet at the recycling levels that were achieved in the very early days of Tor 2. What went wrong with Tor 2 was relationships, and of course along came austerity. So the key here is to maintain what seemed to me to be good and strong relationships. For whatever reason, relationships deteriorate with Tor 2, and you can't expect to get these direct services, important services for our residents. Even if I was a little flippant earlier, these are the hugely important services that our residents appreciate. You can't expect to carry on making savings and delivering on the cheap. So there's been investment in SWISCo, which I hope will continue. But the key is good relationships. So hopefully this review will ensure that good relationships are maintained. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. We'll move to the votes. All those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous. Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Item 10, which is the contract award for the civil enforcement system. Councillor Billings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In relation to this is a much more simple binary choice in front of the Cabinet. We need a mechanism to be able to run the systems that allow us to issue car parking tickets, and in the absence of that, we can't effectively operate our car parks. And what we have before us is a contract award for the preferred bidder to provide that service. I would highly endorse it, because our alternative is would not be to effectively operate our car parks, and we would not be able to operate a charging model in relation to those in the absence of that. So with no further ado, I would commend it to the meeting, and I would recommend that we adopt the contract as set out into the recommendation and the report, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. The second from Councillor Thomas, Mrs. J.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to second the award of contract for civil enforcement system, parking notice and permit processing system. I feel this is a pretty straightforward contract renewal. The current contract ends on the 31st of March 2025, and it is critical that we have the new contract in place so we can have continuity. Without this service in place, will not be able to issue parking penalty charge notice and permits within Torbay. As we are all aware, parking enforcement is a vital part in keeping our streets in order and safe. So I hope that this is fully supported today. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any comments around the table? Any comments outside of the Cabinet? In which case, move to the vote. All those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Move on to item 11, which is the final item this evening, and it's the provision of independent health advocacy. Councillor Tranter.
Thank you, Chair. So I'd like to present the provision of the Independent Health Complaints Advocacy in Torbay, or the IHCA. The IHCA is not a new service, but it is a statutory one. The IHCA is a free, independent and impartial service funded by local authorities. It can help to guide anyone who wishes to complain about their or another person's NHS care and treatment. We have a statutory duty as a local authority and must commission a local NHS complaints advocacy service. This falls under the Health and Social Care Act of 2012. The NHS Complaints Advocacy Service can support anyone who needs to navigate the complaints process, and the advocates are also trained to support people with specific needs or protected characteristics. For example, historical service data suggests that people with a mental health condition, learning disability or autism benefit from support to help navigate the NHS complaints process. The IHCA Advocacy Service will provide high-quality, issue-based advocacy that encourages a culture of independence and supports people to express their own wishes, views, concerns, have their rights upheld, promote their own health and well-being, and safeguards vulnerable adults. In short, the overall purpose of the IHCA service is to increase people's knowledge of their rights, help individuals decide what they want to achieve by making a complaint, support people to be empowered to make informed choices and decisions about their care and treatment, to take greater control over their lives and to get their voices heard, and represent the views and best interests of individuals when they are unable to do so for themselves. So I hope to get your support to award a contract for the delivery of the statutory independent health NHS Complaints Advocacy Service so that the new contract can start on the 1st of July 2024. This is to replace the existing contract with our current supplier, which ends on the 30th of June 2024. This follows an open procurement process led by Devon County Council for the provision of the service in both Devon and Torbay, together with other statutory adult social care advocacy services that Devon County Council have previously commissioned in partnership with Torbay and South Devon NHS Trust and will continue to do so via this joint arrangement. Linking in with Devon County Council and Torbay and South Devon Foundation Trust is all part of our approach to partnership working and co-production, as we already do on a number of existing contracts, such as Healthwatch. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Very well put, Councillor Trent. I think you've covered all of them, and I think this shows, again, working with Devon, partnership working with Devon, and long may it exist. So, very happy to second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Comments, questions, debates around the Cabinet table? Anything outside of the Cabinet? All those in favour, please indicate.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. That being the final item of the Cabinet meeting at 18:17. The meeting is closed. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.